All right, everybody, today we're going to work on value studies of the human head. Some things you're going to need are a pencil. I got some colored pencils here for later, and I also have one of these little sharpeners. Each of you will have one of these in your bin. Make sure to respect the materials I give you because these are some nice quality pencil sharpeners. I need to make sure I keep all of them for other classes. To start off, you have your worksheet, and you'll notice it's a head with all these different pieces. These different pieces are numbered 1, 2, or they have no number at all. Down here, this is going to be our 1. Our black is going to be 1, and our gray is going to be 2. Anything that is supposed to be left white has no number. So if you see a spot on here, like this piece right here, without a number, that means it's supposed to stay white. So the first thing I like to do is I like to start dark and then go light. And I do that by looking for my pieces and I just outline what I have to color in. I see that this piece under the neck is all supposed to be black because it's got a number 1 inside of it. So I'm going in and I'm outlining. And even though this is an exercise, I still want us to be as clean as possible. Once I have that, I'm gonna go in. Now I'm gonna color that in as dark as I can get it. You might have to make a few visits to the pencil sharpener for these, because some of these you'll have to push down pretty hard. So I'm being careful to stay inside the line. I'm trying to keep the value even all the way through this shape. Okay, so that's basically the underside of the neck. You'll notice a whole lot of other spots where you see that number 1. I like to take it section by section, and what I'm doing is I'm jumping a little ahead and showing you all these different spots that are going to end up needing outline because they're labeled number 1. Okay, so I would go through and I would color all this in as dark as I can. Then, every shape that you see with the number 2, like this piece right here, you're gonna hold your pencil closer to the end instead of up here. We usually like to color like this. I want us to move it down like this. That way we're not pushing down as hard, and you can get an easier gray when you draw. So again, I'm holding it towards the end because there's less pressure and it allows me to go a little bit faster with my scribbling. And then that gives me a nice mid-tone gray because this is supposed to be dark. This is supposed to match my gray. And then I leave my white white. Once you get all those filled in, you're left with something that looks a little bit like this. Okay? It's not going to be the cleanest thing ever, but it does show you that if the light comes from here, so we have light, like from the sun, shining down in this direction, we're going to have our shadows on this side. Because shadows will always be on the opposite side of light. Kind of like when you're standing outside, behind you, the opposite side is going to have a shadow. This is for day 1. For day 2, I want you to use a color. For this one, I chose red. I have a darker red and a lighter red. And we're going to recreate our scale. So we have 3 boxes. One of them, I'm pushing down again pretty hard because I want to get it as red as I can. my pure red is going to be my new number 1. It's going to be my darkest dark. Again, I'm going to hold my pencil towards the end for my middle. It's going to be somewhat hard. It's going to look almost like a pink. And that's going to be my number 2. And then I'm barely touching the paper with this. And that's going to be my blank or my white. It's still going to have a little bit of red though. And I'm going to do that on my second project though. So that's going to look something like this. Okay, I have my dark, my mid-tone gray, except in this case it's my red. Okay, so for example, I still have a little bit left here. I'm going to come in, connect those lines. I'm going to come in, fill those in. And I'm not going too easy, but I'm pushing down quite a bit. I'm being careful of staying inside the lines. And then instead of leaving it those whites, I'm going to go very gently. When I go gently with red on white paper, if I look from very far away, my eyes are going to make it look like it's pink because your eyes are blending the white of the paper and the red of the colored pencil from far away. I can kind of scribble over the whole thing because everything that's darker is not going to pick up any more red if I'm drawing very lightly. That'll be the end of my second day. So day 1 is graphite, day 2 is one color, day 3, I'm gonna have you choose 2 complementary colors. Complementary colors we'll talk about later in the year. They're opposite colors on the color wheel. So if you look at a color wheel and you see what's on the opposite ends of a color wheel, I chose purple for my dark color, and the opposite of purple on the color wheel, which is the color on the opposite side of the color wheel, that is yellow. That means these 2 colors are going to stand out the most when they're next to each other. Kind of like black and white, they're opposites. Okay? I'm going to leave my white as white. My yellow, I'm going to come in like before, hold my pencil at the very end. I'm going to come in and make that nice and yellow. Yellow is a very bright color, so I do have to push down a little bit more. I'm going to come through here, keep my color inside those lines. And for my number 1, I'm using purple. And for my number 2, I'm using yellow. Because these are complementary colors. They're opposite on the color wheel. So by the end of this project, by Friday, you should have 3 complete value studies of the human head. If you're falling behind, you need to tell me and we can figure it out together. If you don't tell me and you don't finish, it's going to affect your grade. You can always tell me in class. You can ask another teacher to email me if you need help. You can ask for help in person or email me. But you're going to continue to finish all 3, and then you'll have 3 different value studies of the head. If you have any questions, raise your hand to let me know. Hope you all enjoy it.